Hi there, welcome to this lecture series on matrix algebra. This is lecture 21, part 2. The topic is Eigenvalues and Eigenvectors. This is the first lecture on this topic. Now let's continue our discussion on basic properties of eigenvalues and eigenvector. Okay, so here are some properties on the eigenvalues and eigenvectors. Let's say you have a matrix A is m by n, and then such a matrix can have at most n distinct eigenvalues. And then these eigenvalues, as we have seen from the part 1 of the lecture, they are actually roots of the characteristic polynomial, which we call P of lambda, which is exactly the determinant of the matrix A minus lambda times identity. Okay, so this is a polynomial of degree n, so we know it can have at most n distinct roots, and which will be the eigenvalues of A. We also want to point out that some of these roots might not be distinct and they might coincide. Okay, and this fact would make the discussion more complicated. We'll come back to that later. The second property is that if a eigenvector of A is given as V, then any scalar multiple of that vector is also an eigenvector. And the V can be multiplied by a real number or a complex number C. So this can actually be proved like by just one line. So if V is an eigenvector, then A times V would equal to lambda times V for that corresponding eigenvalue. And then I can multiply this V by a C. Let's compute A times C of V, where C is a number. And then we can move this C to the front. So it becomes C times AV. And now we use the property that AV equals lambda V, which is the assumption, and then put it as C lambda V. And then we can switch the two numbers. These are two scalar numbers. So we put lambda in the front and we group the C times V together as a vector. Now we have A times this vector, CV, equals lambda times CV. Okay, so which shows that C times V is also an eigenvector, and it corresponds to the same eigenvalue lambda. Here are some further observations. If a matrix A is 2 by 2, then we see that the characteristic polynomial would be a polynomial of degree 2. And in this case, we'll have a simple formula to find the roots, namely the quadratic formula. However, when the dimension of the matrix A is bigger, so in general is m by n for some number n, then the polynomial, this characteristic polynomial, would be of degree n. And that's very unfortunate because finding the roots, exact roots, is not easy. In fact, it's a very difficult task. For n large, say bigger than or equal to 5, there is no actual formula to compute these roots. But there are some special cases where this finding eigenvalue is easy. That is, when A is a upper or lower triangular matrix, then this is easy to find. Indeed, the eigenvalues are precisely the elements along the diagonal of A. We'll take an example illustrating this property here. Now let's consider matrix A. It's 3 by 3, and we see that this is a upper triangular, meaning below the diagonal line, this is all 0. Okay, let's see if the eigenvalues are exactly the diagonal elements. So let's form the characteristic polynomial, which is the determinant of A minus lambda times identity. So that will be the matrix A, and then we subtract lambda on all the diagonal element. Then we have this. Then we see that this matrix here is also upper triangular because these three are 0, and the determinant of it is just the product of the diagonal. So it will be just 7 minus lambda times negative lambda times negative 2 minus lambda. And then finding the roots of this is very simple because it's already in factorized form. So it will be the root for each of these singular terms. So the first one gives lambda 1 is 7, second one is 0, and the third one is lambda 3 is negative 2. And then you see that 7, 0, negative 2 is exactly along the diagonal line of A, which we see that is exactly that we have these terms on the diagonal line of this matrix A minus lambda I, and they exactly contribute to the determinant. Okay, so now let's practice in finding the eigenvalues for this problem. So lambda 1 is 7, so we want to find V1. So we set lambda 1 to be 7 and we put it into the system A minus lambda I times x equals 0. So we put in A here and then we subtract 7 along the diagonal line, and this is what we get. And then we have this system to solve. So we see that the first column is 0, which means x1 can be anything, which will always satisfy it ends up to be 0. So we can verify that if we choose the vector 1, 0, 0 here, this equation holds. So now at least we find one corresponding eigenvector, which is 1, 0, 0, and we call that V1. Now let's find the second one, lambda 2 equals 0. So that this will just be A, because minus lambda I is just minus 0. So we'll have A times x equals 0. And how do we solve this? Well, we see that the second and the third equation here would both require that x3 should be 0. So we set that to be 0. So when x3 is 0, we basically just have an equation for x1 and x2 only. And in fact, it will be 7x1 plus 4x2 equals 0. Okay, so a quick solution would be I simply choose x1 to be 4 and x2 to be negative 7 so that that equation holds. And then you have found an eigenvector V2. So you might be wondering at this point, that is, can a matrix have no eigenvectors? Let's consider this matrix A here, which we have encountered earlier. This matrix A takes this form, and we see that the linear map V maps to W equal to AV describes a rotation by angle of pi over 4. So if you have E1, and then A times E1 is rotated 45 degrees to point here, and then E2 is rotated to this angle here, 135 degrees, A times E2. Okay. And then any vector V, if you multiply by A, the image would be rotating this vector pi over 4 degrees, and you get the new vector W is A times V. So the question is, since the definition of an eigenvector is that the linear mapping, the image becomes a vector pointing in the same direction. And then here we are rotating all the vectors. So how can we find an eigenvector that is a vector which is parallel to its image if it's rotated? So let's carry out the computation. We have done this many times to set up the characteristic polynomial and try to find the roots. So that will be the determinant of a minus lambda I, and let's put in a and subtract lambda on the diagonal. And to compute the determinant of this one is the product of these two minus the product of these two, which we write down here. And then you can open them up and then join like terms, and you know this ends up into a polynomial of degree 2. So after simplification, you see that it takes this form. So it's polynomial of degree 2 with real coefficients. Okay, now we wish to find roots of this. We can put in the quadratic formula. So the roots would be negative of b, which is here, plus minus square root of b squared minus 4ac, so which we put here, over 2a. Okay, and then work out what's in here, and then we see that this will be 2 minus 4, which is negative 2. So we have this expression. So we see that under the square root, here we get a negative number. So now we see that the eigenvalue here is not real. It's a complex number. So lambda 1, let's say we take it to be the one with the plus sign, and then square root of negative 2 would be I times square root of 2. Okay, and then you can write this as this form, because square root of 2 over 2 is just 1 over square root of 2. And lambda 2 will be the complex conjugate. So we'll be changing the sign here into negative. Okay, so now what about the eigenvectors? So if lambda is an eigenvalue, and the eigenvector would be a solution to this system, non-zero solution. Okay, let's find the first one, choosing lambda 1 to be the one with the plus sign. And we can put those in for the lambda, and we see that there is a 1 over square root of 2, which it will be everywhere, even in the lambda. So we can take it out, and then what we would have here would be 1 minus 1 plus lambda will be negative lambda, and that here is also negative lambda, and 1 here and 1 here. So we have this system to be 0. What will be a non-trivial solution? Well, we see that this is a number. We can divide it both sides by that, so we can discard that one. And then we have the equation from the first row will be negative x1 minus x2 is 0. And then the second equation is x1 minus x2 is 0. And actually these two are the same, because you can multiply I on row 1. I times I is I squared is negative 1, and then negative of it is 1, and then negative I. So these two rows are actually scalar multiples of each other. So you can just pick one and pick a arbitrary constant. Let's say x2 is arbitrary constant c, and you find out x1 shall be ci, and then this will be the general solution. Okay, so c is an arbitrary constant, and therefore this is an eigenvector. So that's v1. And this will be the eigenvector corresponding to the eigenvalue lambda 1. And we note that lambda 1 is a complex number, and the eigenvector v1 here also contains complex numbers. Okay, we can carry out a completely similar calculation for v2, just for the purpose of demonstrating it. And then you will have this system. And then finding a non-trivial solution would be, again, you can put x2 to be arbitrary constant, and finding x1 to be negative I. And then that's the general solution with a arbitrary constant c. And therefore that this vector here is an eigenvector of A, and we write it out, and that corresponds to the eigenvalue lambda 2. And we note again that this is a complex number. One important thing to point out in this example is the following. So the matrix we start with, it has all real numbers. And then we computed the eigenvalue here, we repeat here, and the corresponding eigenvectors. And we notice that these two eigenvalues, lambda 1, lambda 2, they are complex conjugates of each other. And also v1 and v2 are the same complex conjugate of each other. And in fact, this is a general property. Let's now state this in a theorem. So let A be a matrix with real entries. Okay, that's important. That's the assumption. A has real entries. And then let V be an eigenvector corresponding to the eigenvalue lambda. Then the following is true. The complex conjugate of V is another eigenvector, and it corresponding to the eigenvalue, which is complex conjugate of lambda. So let's do a quick proof. Okay, so we assume that V is a eigenvector with eigenvalue lambda. Then we have this identity, A times V is lambda times V. Okay, and we want to show that A times V conjugate is lambda conjugate times V conjugate. So keep in mind, this is what we want to show, and then we will start from the left hand side and try to reach the right hand side. So okay, so we have this left hand side, A times V conjugate, and then we observe that A has real entries, therefore A equal to A conjugate. So we have that first step. And then we can use the property of the product of the conjugate, and A conjugate times V conjugate is exactly A times V, and you take conjugate afterwards. Okay. And now we use the property that V is an eigenvector. So A times V is just lambda times V. So we have that, and then the conjugate we copy. And now we again use the property of the conjugate of the product, which is the product of the conjugate. So we will have lambda conjugate times V conjugate, which is exactly the right hand side. Therefore, we completed the proof. So what this theorem says is the following. If you have a complex eigenvalue or an eigenvector for a matrix with real entries, then they always come in pairs. So if we use this property in the previous example, after having computed the first eigenvector v1, we could stop there, and we could immediately write out v2 to be the v1 conjugate, which simplifies quite a bit the whole computation. Okay, so this is the end of this lecture now, and next time we'll continue our discussion on eigenvalues and eigenvectors and talking about more fascinating stuffs. So I hope you enjoyed this one, and I'll see you next time.